Hi, I'm Kathy McAnally, and I'm coming to you from Bixby, Oklahoma. I have an Etsy shop called R&R Woven Treasures, and tonight I'd like to talk to you about one of the weave structures that we use quite a bit. It's called Overshot. Overshot is a really nice weave structure because you can get a lot of variety of patterns, and you can get them without having to redress your loom, just by pressing on the petals of your loom in different order. So I'm going to show you some work that I've done. And again, I do this weave structure for a lot of different things. I use Overshot in rugs. I've used them in tea towels and scarves and all sorts of different things. I'm going to show you a pillow top and a dish drying mat. So I'm going to have to move the camera, so hang on just a minute and let me move the camera down so that you can see my work on my loom. Okay, here we are. And as you can see, this is a pillow top. Isn't this gorgeous? Now these pillow tops will be available in March. We've been working on a number of new designs for different pillows. We've got at least three different pillow tops, or different series of pillow tops. Two of those series, in fact, is in Overshot. And this particular pillow was done in a threading, and again, that's how you thread your shafts. And if you aren't familiar with how a loom works, I've got a wonderful video that's pasted to the top of my my Facebook page on how a loom works. But this one was threaded in the shape of an M, so all the vertical warp threads have been put through the loom in the shape of an M. It's just a really simple threading. And look at the variety of designs that we got from that one threading. And again, all of these designs were created by simply pressing on the petal in a different order. And you can see here that I've also changed colors as I went through, and that's another thing that you can do with Overshot, is that you can change the colors in the threads that you're throwing. That's the weft threads that you're throwing back and forth. And the colors, aren't they just rich and beautiful? This was hand-dyed yarn, and it came from another Etsy shop, and I'd like to highly recommend that Etsy shop. It's called That's My Color Yarn Shop. Again, That's My Color Yarn Shop. And she has these beautiful cotton bamboo thread or yarn that is in shades, so you can get these progression of colors, and you don't have to buy a whole lot. You know, I didn't use hardly anything to make this pillow top, and I made two of them, and I've still got plenty of thread left to make several more. And I bought the smallest quantity she had because I don't use that many, but I wanted a lot of different colors. And isn't this wonderful, with a progression of well, it's kind of a progression of turquoises and blues, and it goes into the green. And she's got progressions of reds and oranges and greens and even blacks and grays. There's just a whole lot of yummy yarn that I'd like to go out there and try. So I started with this because I love turquoise. It's one of my favorite colors. And I think this is going to make just a really spectacular pillow. And of course, we have to send it off to the seamstress. She's going to seam around the edges and make a backing for it. And this pillow was made with that yarn, and the white that you see in here is just a standard 8-2 cotton yarn that we would use for tea towels. In fact, when I was finished with these pillows, I had a little warp left, so I made some tea towels. And look at the wonderful tea towel that was made with the same warp. And I just used one design element. I didn't change the design elements, but you can see how interesting that pattern is. And this one was made with orange, and it's just a standard orange. It wasn't hand dyed or anything. It was just a standard orange, but didn't this turn out nicely? What I'm working on right now is not with 8-2 cotton warp, it's actually with rug warp. And I do a lot of rugs in Overshot. This particular one is going to be a dish drawing mat. I use this rug, I mean, it is thick and thirsty, and it'll absorb water like crazy. I also like to use this in a bath mat. It'll be the top of a bath mat, and then I'll put a foam core underneath it with a backing of black rubberized material that you get in the shop. So it really stays put, and that foam core makes it very stable and a lot stiffer. So let me show you what Overshot is, or how Overshot works. Overshot works with a pattern thread, and your pattern thread needs to be at least 2 to 3 times, excuse me, 2 to 3 times larger than your tabby thread. And a tabby thread is the thread you throw in between each pattern that actually gives the structure to the material so that it doesn't have a hole. Because one of the nice things you can do when you use a tabby thread is you can throw this pattern thread multiple times and get those elongated patterns. On this particular work, I'm not doing that, but it could easily be done. Now, this particular one has a red row and a gray row, and I've finished with the red row, so I'm just going to hold that in my lap. And I'm going to go with the gray. Now, I've thrown the gray across there, so I need a tabby. Oops, the wrong pedal. So I need a tabby, and I'm throwing the tabby. Now, the tabby is going to be the same color so that it blends in and won't be seen as much, of course, as the pattern throw. This is a knot. I had a knot in my warp thread, and I'm going to be fixing that so that it'll go to the back and won't show. So we're going to put the pattern thread through. I did not clean my shed. I did not clean my shed. Now, when you get a problem like this, I've got a sticky thread. Sticky threads, I call them sticky threads. That's kind of a funny name. I call them sticky threads because sometimes when we're, oops, now I'm really in a mess. Now when we get in a mess like this, we just find our scissors, which are over here. And it's one of the important things to know about weaving is that you can't mess it up. You can always rip it out. You know, just like knitting or crocheting, you can always rip it out. When you cut your thread, you need to make sure that you're not cutting any of the white warp threads. So I'm just snipping the gray. I'll pull this out. Now, my gray has been cut. It is free. I have this little tail here. Now you can either tuck your tails, and by tucking your tails, I'm going to clean my shed, which I didn't do a while ago. That's why I had the problem. I was focusing on what I was going to say on the video and didn't think about what I was doing. That's kind of a common thread. I can't do more than one thing at the same time sometimes. So we're going to take our pattern thread and we're going to throw it in there. Now, this would be the same process as I run out of thread and need to replace thread on my boat here. You know, when I run out of this gray thread, I'm going to have to put some more on. And this would be the same process. I just overlap it a little bit there. I overlap the 2 threads, so there's actually 4 threads there for just a little bit. And that shows a little bit in your pattern, but not that much. And that's how we change threads when we run out. Now there's your tabby throw. Here's your pattern throw. Okay, there's your pattern throw. Here's your tabby. There's your tabby. And here's the pattern. Clean that shed. Now the reason why I'm doing that, clean that shed, is because, as I was saying a while ago, sometimes they're sticky. Thread inherently has, if it's soft at all, it'll have little side hairs. And if you look at it, especially under a microscope or even just a magnifying glass, you can see that cotton has lots of little hairs coming out on the side. And those little hairs kind of get to playing with each other, and the cotton thread doesn't want to move. And in weaving, we're raising some of the threads, and some of the threads have to stay lowered. And so if those little hairs are stuck to each other, they don't want to come apart, then that could create an unclean shed. You know, I don't want to say dirty because it's not actually dirt, but it could create problems like I just had. So what I do is, as I throw it, beat it down. Then I raise the next one up. You'll see me beat it down. And that's cleaning that shed. It's giving those, I'm combing it. Just like, you know, you comb hair on a little girl. You know how the hair sometimes sticks together and makes a knot, you know, makes a problem. So this reed helps me comb through all of those threads and keeps them nice and organized and neat. And that's how we weave it. Next, I would go and make a series of about 3 picks of just the plain weave, and that would give me this little space in the middle. And then I'd start with my red here. It's kind of a nice cranberry red, and I think it goes really great with this gray. And this will make a nice dish drying mat. One of the things with dish drying mats is when we pre-wash the material before we sew it. And a dish drying mat in my shop has the quilted background, and this is just basic quilted material that you buy at the store, and it's on the back side. So you see this lovely hand-woven pattern on the top, and then on the back side is the quilted material. So it's actually very, very thick, and it'll make a lovely dish drying mat. And again, the little tails and stuff that you see here on my loom on the sides, they won't show because it'll be sewn in as she sews on the quilted fabric. So that's what I wanted to talk to you tonight about. And if you've got time, stop by and see my dish drawing mats and my other items that are made with this wonderful overshot technique. You can also, if you check back in April, be able to see those pillows. Again, that's my dog. Again, my Etsy shop name is RNR Woven Treasures. You'll be surprised what a hand weaver can do. Thank you.